Hello, everyone. I am Fabian with ChristosAvatar.com, and today we'll be continuing our Secret Mysteries of Ascension, Atlantis and Egypt playlist series, and this is part 2. Welcome. And today we'll be talking about the Andromeda Galaxy, Arcturians, Pleiadians, Ark of the Covenant, and the Blue Flame. And it's like it's a beautiful continuation and part of learning of who you are. And now back to the seeding of the races. And following the outbreak and escalation of the Thousand Years War, remember it was about that race of Anunnaki's intentions of destroying the Sphere of Amenti. Well, now it was no longer safe to keep the Sphere of Amenti within the Earth's core. And we've talked about this in the different videos about how it's part of our ascension process. And so now it was like no longer safe to keep it there in the Earth's core. And as the negative Anunnaki operated, they were trying to destroy it, trying to find as much, information or vulnerabilities as they could. They could easily discover access to, its D2 resting place. So because of this, threat of the, newly created Anunnaki resistance, that's what they're calling themselves, the negative Anunnaki. And because, don't forget, there is also the positive Anunnaki of the Sirian Council. I know whenever you hear this word Anunnaki, you think it's automatically bad, but not necessarily. We just have to catch ourselves from acting that way, reacting that way, so a multidimensional intergalactic effort was made to ensure protection for the Sphere of Amenti, which, remember, includes the 5 time warp portals that were inside of it, which link through to various time periods on Earth, and also including future times that haven't happened yet, but you can get a portal to Torah. But also access to those Mintaka Stargate complex that I mentioned earlier. So the Sirian Council assisted this race, the Seres, Seres, and the Elohim, in once again removing the Sphere of Amenti from the Earth. And just, when they do this, it usually creates all kinds of climatic problems, just like when you go through a ascension process, or there's wars or destruction, cataclysm, but it was placed within a secure location about 849,000 years ago. The Sphere of Amenti was placed within a secret, unknown, another planetary core in the Andromeda Galaxy, somewhere far away from Earth, obviously, and under high security, of course. And it was basically held there in exclusion until the close of the 12 Years War. And I just wanted to remind you about the Sirian Council again. They're the highest, the highest level of beings, at least, that are involved in this whole Turnesium hybridization, angelic human project. They're involved in overseeing this project, and the Sirian Council is, at its highest level, a specialized collective of Rishi from dimensions 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so but however, just like you have a higher levels of yourselves, these beings have a higher levels and lower self aspects of themselves. We're an aspect of our avatar or a higher ascended level. So, but the Sirian Council also exists in the lower level of Density 2, and they were appointed as administration and security of this Turnesium angelic human race experiment. So would be the ones that would make the final decision, and sometimes we don't really like some of the decisions because it does affect us sometimes in negative ways, but mostly it's because we've done something wrong to begin with. So the Sirian Council of Density 2 petitioned assistance from numerous star systems and Density-1 and Density-2 to provide security for this important, Sphere of Amenti. Now, this was a big deal. It had to be protected. This is our third seeding. We've already had them destroyed, so they had to be protected. It's kind of like we have to go out of our way to make sure it's protected, hidden, secret, So the races, from some of the Pleiadian systems and the Arcturian systems, they offered assistance. And also this is because, well, many humans had already previously found exile within the Pleiadian and the Arcturian cultures during the course of that, troubled evolution and wars on Earth. And it's during the failed first seeding and the failed second seeding, I hope. So, this third seeding, but so they're really our friends, and cooperation was given, from both well, this is interesting. Both, like I was just explaining with those beings, well, both Density-2 Arcturians and Pleiadians, but also Density-1 Arcturians and Pleiadians were helping us. Different, excuse me, a future version and their past version were cooperating to help us out. So, and understand that these races, well, they exist both in these density universes, and there's a lot of people talking about these races. Some of you may have connections to the Pleiadians or Arcturians, or if you find yourself really drawn to that type of races or information you read. But now you know why. Basically, they're part of our hybridization project. And besides, well, their security now, right? So besides this security, the Sirian Council also formed a Density-2 with Density-2, an organization, Sirians and several cultures from Arcturus. So, Sirian and Arcturian, and it was, called the Sirian-Arcturian Coalition of Planetary Defense, and through which the hidden Sphere of Amenti, Earth and its allies would be protected if it ever, the need arose. So, now, so that's so far, this organization, and it was later invited to join a larger, higher level, to, interdimensional guardian group. Basically, it's known as the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds, initialized IAFW, and it's a large unified collective, right, of Guardian Angelic Nations. And when you start talking about how ancient these beings are, when you say the word ancient, I mean, there's got to be a stronger word. So it's like a service organization assembled by the Rishi, the founders races, 250 billion years ago. So, and once again, that was just a higher level, Density 4, even Density 5. And so it's this is part of our heritage as well. All these levels of civilization, levels of organization of the light races, because we mentioned those Guardian Angelic Nations, but there's also a whole legions of fallen angelic races. This is a spiritual war. If you don't like that idea or concept, you can say at least it's an extraterrestrial war. And then we explain what are ETs, and there is actually qualified as metaterrestrials, and there's ultra-terrestrials. So, but that's what their membership, that organization goes up to the highest densities. So there's that huge organization. It's really huge. So, but also besides those security, now, in the Andromeda Galaxy itself, there's also an organization called, well, Association of Planets in Andromeda. But they would not agree to military involvement, as they were not I had talked about this before. They were not supportive of what I talked about, the conditions of the Treaty of El Anu, which I talked about in this treaty in a previous video. And it's there's two words, El Anu. So they did, however, well, they did allow the sphere, at least the sphere, to be, remain and hidden within a secret location in one of their star systems. So, but we still had enough, you would say, some pretty high level backup, right? And like guardians, we need protection. We have some high level beings that want to have dominion or annihilate us. So, and realize, I was just talking about these high level races. Realize that the word L, like in EL, like I was put on the screen, like in the word El Anu, this treaty El of El Anu, it's actually shorthand. This little word is shorthand for Elohim. So Treaty of El Anu, there's a reference to the Elohim race, the El families. So it's like following that, the removal of the Sphere of Amenti 849,000 years ago. Well, the Earth once again endured a series of climatic and geographic changes as Earth's energetic grid rebalanced, following the removal of the sphere. It had to, like, go back, a period of healing, a period of realigning. But, in historical record, well, it became like interwoven with the early flooding. And remember, I tell you, there's different floodings, but that you heard of as one big flood, but realize this is actually representative of several floods. And this was one of them, in historical record. And it became interwoven with, the flooding associated with the electric wars and a later time period of flooding, and all consolidated, into the story of the biblical flood. But regardless, realize there's actually three major floods in different time periods. And, there's many different, well, not just belief systems, but nations, countries, cultures that talk about the flooding and different floods. So, but now it's like the Guardians organizations knew. They just knew that, like, the third seeding of the human lineage would have to be, well, orchestrated once the Earth's planetary environment eventually rebalanced, right? So it has to do with the grid, the energy grid of the planet. And Earth's grid still cannot sustain a life field with fourth dimensional, higher than third dimensional. We need fourth dimensional gene coding. So, after all, our planet, it's been through cataclysms and pole shifts, earthquakes, flooding and high-tech wars, so, but instead of sitting here and waiting that long, several thousands of years for just waiting for the planet to, like, rebalance, let's think outside the box. So they thought outside the box. Sometimes they had to get the big guns in here. They created a creative plan. It was devised to at least allow the souls, waiting within the sphere of Amenti, waiting to be, re-entered into Earth by a special portal that would be created. And remember, I did talk about different, well, made portals that they're not natural. There's natural portals, and then there's beings, races, advanced races that know these energy mechanics. They know, they make portals. They know how to interface black holes, white holes, but time portals, networks of stargates. So, but the third seeding, could not take place, at least not directly through Earth's core, because of the sphere of Amenti, the morphogenetic field, right? It was now in the Andromeda Galaxy. So, man, as you have noticed, I don't know if you have noticed, we have a very, like, bizarre ascension process, but at least we have an ascension process. But in the second seeding, we talked about the Sirius B path of evolution, for just the Atlanteans and the Aryans, the Sirius B option, which utilized that portal bridge, from Sirius B to the Sphere of Amenti for ascension during the second seeding. And I should probably show this on the screen, but we have all of this going on, and this portal bridge was called the Hall of Amoria, during the second seeding, and so people don't talk about stargates and their spiritual systems, but realize it's a huge part of our ascension process, a part of the dramas. It's underestimated, to the extreme. But in the second seeding, this portal Hall of Moria, it was called the Third Eye of Horus. I mentioned that in the other video as well. It's during the third seeding, but this portal would actually no longer be useful to the Earth seeds and the star seeds, as its connection to the Sphere of Amenti, it was severed. So a new portal bridge needed to be created, and this is part of the name of the video. And also there's belief systems that talk about this erroneously, inaccurately, purposely. It's part of a false creed. But I like to have the knowledge information come out, so they needed a new portal. And in order for the third seeding of the races to take place, right, this has to be, has to be taken care of. So this is exactly what the Pleiadians did. A portal bridge between the Sphere of Amenti and the Andromeda Galaxy and Earth's D2 core, was constructed, a portal, a connection, and the Guardian organizations did this. They constructed it about 840,000 years ago. And this intergalactic portal bridge was, at the time, it was called the Arch of the Covenant of Pallador, because it's the Pleiadians, it's in reference to the Pleiadians. They're the ones that are part of this whole Turnesium Angelic Human Race project. It's in the first video, so the very first video about the Turnesium. So that's part of our heritage, the Pleiadians. And so later, though, this name later became, the Arch later became known the Ark of the Covenant. So the secret and truth of the Ark of the Covenant is that it is a portal passageway, between Andromeda Galaxy and Earth, not some elaborate gold-plated wooden chest. That biblical story is part of a false creed. And so now finally, through the Ark of the Covenant and, Ascension Portal, that's what it is. If you can visualize or imagine another galaxy, and it takes you through into another, it's like, have you seen this movie Contact with Jodie Foster? So you get an idea of what traveling through some type of wormhole, and so, or even this show Stargate, showing you how the portals work and walking through a portal. But once again, now finally the race souls of the Sphere of Amenti, the star seeds and Earth seeds, could once again be reseeded on Earth. The third seeding. So from the Sphere of Amenti, now in the Andromeda Galaxy, it would pass through the Ark of the Covenant portal as pure consciousness. Merge from Earth's planetary field in Dimension 2. All these terms are explained in the previous videos, so it's important to watch this in order. But, then it birthed into physical manifestation on Earth. However, a fifth dimensional security seal was placed upon this Ark of the Covenant portal. It's kind of like when I explained about the subfrequencies of the frequencies, like the substrands of the strands of DNA. It's made up in fragments or portions or parts or pieces that make up the whole. So it was like this fifth dimensional security seal. It was placed, it was like a DNA seal on the Ark of the Covenant, which meant that this portal, just one way. It operated like a one-way door, So souls of the races, they could, from, Tara's, the Andromeda Galaxy, descend through the passageway, but could not go back, to the Sphere of Amenti in their secret place, morphogenic field, for ascension, unless they had the fifth dimensional coding DNA, strand in their gene structure, chakra, this is the throat chakra. This is the fifth dimension. This is the fifth race. So for those who actually had their fifth strand, that's a high level for this operation of DNA activated. It's like a genetic ticket to freedom. whoever had it, it's called the shield of the Ark. Whoever had this in their DNA, it's called the shield of the Ark. It's kind of like having a spell or a blessing on you to be able to ascend, unlike other races who are stuck in time. And these shield of the arcs, and these are incarnates who bore this fifth dimensional shield of the arc, within their genetic code, could pass through the security seal. So you can see how it's working for some and not for others. It's like I call it a DNA seal. So on the Ark of the Covenant, and return a sin through Amenti to Tara. But I showed you, all of their DNA templates on the previous video. Each of the Earthseed races, and the Lemurians and Atlanteans and Aryans. And did you notice they do not have the fifth strand? Not those races. Lemurian down here, second chakra, Atlantean, third chakra, Aryan, us, the fourth chakra. Well, that's us now. So this chakra, the next race, the next dimension is in our future. So after us, we say the Atlanteans are gone because now we're after them. So we're going to be gone and they're going to be after us, So this is a fifth DNA strand seal for these races. But they cannot return through the Ark of the Covenant, so it's affecting your ascension process, understand? And they couldn't come through as consciousness unless their seal of Halidor and the seal of Amenti were released. I talk about these two DNA seals in great detail in the previous video, but now, as you can see, now there's 3 DNA seals amongst the races. And did you notice it's not by the Anunnaki, it's by the founder races. The Sirian Council is putting these seals on us because it's mostly, you would say, not a punishment, but a consequence, But so we have 3 now seals in our DNA that affect our ascension. That's why you need up to this chakra, the 5th strand. So now I need to explain something called the blue flame. Now, I talked about the 12 planets of our solar system in the previous video. Yeah, 12. So, which were created from the 12 pieces of planet Tara's fragmented morphogenetic field. And so Earth, well, it received its portion out of the 12. It received its portion 25 million years ago, okay? We're talking different time scales. So this is when the halls of Amenti were constructed. And the other planets, well, they undergone their own, a similar sphere for themselves and their own halls of stargates, and they were, at different times, though. They were creation at various different times. Each set was being named after the portion of their morphogenetic field it carried, and Earth's portion was called Amenti. So each of those other 11 planets would have their own name for their portion. So, this pattern of energy, morphogenetic field, had the appearance of a standing waveform, composed of 4th dimensional and 5th dimensional frequencies. The 4th heart chakra is green. The 5th throat chakra is blue. And so, thus visually, this standing wave pattern looked like an electric blue flame with like a pale shade of green. You're going to have both of those combined energies. So, and so the blue flame was brought into, so you have the Sphere of Amenti, and you have the portals in there, and you have this energy, this 5th dimensional energy, the blue flame, okay? It was brought into the Sphere of Amenti too. So by the 5 star seed races, and also those priests from Lemuria and the other priests, the priesthood of and the priesthood of Mu. So the Mu are Lemurians. So now the blue flame, well, as you can see, it's literally a piece of Tara. And so it's the gateway, like connection, like literal connection, into like Tara's morphogenic field. So it's similar to what we call in magic is symbolic representation. Symbolic representation of who or what you're trying to, put a spell on, or positive, hopefully, and or it's also called what is a equivalent structure. If you want to affect something or someone with the magic spell, you would want some representation of that person, to like connect yourself, your thoughts, your energies, your those emotions, those symbolic representations, connect yourself to them, such as a picture, graphical representations, photos, sigils, voodoo dolls, astrological birth charts, symbols, of runes or tarot, tarot cards. However, it would be much more powerful to have the person's DNA, you know? So we're trying to draw what this is, how this mechanics are working. So just as the blue flame is literally a piece of fourth and fifth dimensional planetary energy of Tara, the green and the blue energy are from Tara's energies. The fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, we're in 1, 2, 3. That's in 4, 5, 6. So and placed inside the sphere of Amenti, that flame, green blue flame. So energetically, it literally becomes a gateway to which these halls of Amenti, remember, are the halls of stargates. And just imagine there's portals now in this room. You're going to connect to these stargates. So, one could just pass into the halls of Amenti, but one must pass through the blue flame. Okay, this is a process, energy process, an alchemical process, in order to transmute your body form and appear on Tara. Go through the blue flame. And later, mystery schools, Egyptian mystery schools, the blue flame gateway, it became known as, it's become translated in biblical terms as the, what is it, ivory gates it's the ivory gates. So it's representing what the same thing as the blue flame. In each case, it's referred to the gateway to Tara. But needless to say, the sphere of Amenti and blue flame inside of it, which allows those halls of Amenti to open into Tara. I mean, this sounds like some like sci-fi stuff using stargates and portals and dimensions, and yes, different matter forms, different biologies, different consciousness, different aspects, parts of the whole, parts of our higher selves. That's what we are. Understand? And it's like, it's like the halls of Amenti and the sphere of Amenti, these connections to Tara, it's quite valuable commodities, okay? Because every human on Earth now is in some way energetically connected to the race morphogenic field within the sphere of Amenti. And you don't hear this, though, knowledge, this memory, this information from other systems. We're talking indigo, Orifeme, Ascension, Melchizedek, Ascension mechanics, So you decide. And it's through the halls of Amenti that you must ascend to fulfill your evolutionary imprint as souls, return to the creator, creator source, I call source God. So now with this like a fifth dimensional seal of the Ark of the Covenant portal, these individuals who did not have the fifth strand, right? I showed you all the races that don't, including us, that don't have the fifth strand, unless you're indigo, unless you're starseed coming in. But they couldn't re-enter the sphere of Amenti morphogenic field. And so as a consequence would evolve within the fourth dimensional astral planes between incarnations, along with those identity fragments created within, through the seal of Palador that I talk about, and until sometime, I guess, when the Ark of the Covenant portal was opened. Excuse me. Because there's a cycle to all of this. Everything has a cycle, and and it was like you either go with those cycles or go against the harmonics, or go against them, or I guess it's your choice. You have free will, and so it's like a lot of this is talked about in the stories of the Bible, but just in different terms. Understand? Gates of ivory, pearly gates of heaven, okay? And so Ark of the Covenant, portal, ascension, traveling through time. So it's like like I said, it's not until like the future sixth Earthseed race, Mavarians, and their companion is Melchizedek starseeds, and they're the ones. Those two races are the ones that held the keys to ascension, because as the fifth DNA strand was included in their genetic imprint. And I'll show it to you on the screen. These are the same templates and diagrams I showed you in my other video. So if you want to see these, check out the other video or check out the diagrams on my website. Because we're teaching advanced concepts, Templar mechanics, Ascension mechanics, Stargate mechanics by using easier methods to understand, because it can be kind of sophisticated and hard to understand. But these future Mavarians, and Melchizedek races, they would be born with the shield of the Ark that I mentioned earlier in their genetic code. But, this is later in the future. It doesn't help the ascension process, to be honest, with the Lemurians, Atlanteans, and the Aryans. But, of course, honestly, sincerely, with these mechanics, anybody can learn and use ascension mechanics. It doesn't have to, you don't have to wait to some, basically I'm saying you don't have to wait to some special energetic alignment. Understand, you can go at your own individual pace. You don't have to wait for the planet or the race. Understand, everyone's, can learn to use ascension mechanics to develop your DNA and ascend. Why can't you? You don't have to be born psychic, you develop it. This is what we're also teaching here at Crystal Salvatar. And the Ark of the Covenant portal was designed in such a way that Guardians, they wouldn't even have to re-enter the Sphere of Amenti themselves, because the Sphere of Amenti itself could teleport through this, eventually be re-entered into the Earth core automatically by using the same thing, the Ark of the Covenant portal bridge. So the sphere itself will come through it, through this special, it's set up to do this automatically, and that's what I was saying. But in this way, yeah, it became self-regulating, but it was conditional. So the return of this on us, the return of the sphere would depend upon like conditions and the Earth's planetary grid. Our consciousness, our thoughts, our grid work affects the planetary grid, which affects its ascension process, which affects our ascension process, the human's ascension process. So, the fifth dimensional seal, you need that fifth strand to go through. Oh, great, you don't have it. So, that seal on the Ark of the Covenant was designed to be released once a certain percentage of the Earth's population had assembled, at least the 15A strand. So, kind of like the 100th monkey effect. You get 100 monkeys to learn something. Oh, like 10% of them. Now the rest of the race will know. It's like this, but we're asking 8% of the Earth's population, So it's that throat chakra we keep talking about, the blue throat chakra, which, meant that a certain number of Melchizedek starseeds or Muvarians, they would have to be born on the planet. Melchizedeks, because remember, the Melchizedeks are working on the fifth strand of DNA. Well, they both are, but now, today, in modern time, yes, we have the Lemurians, Atlanteans, and Aryans are stuck on Earth. Like, what you call, no longer immortal bodies, no longer transmutations, but we're stuck in endless reincarnation cycles. This is not normal. We think it's normal because we've been in it for so long. It's not normal, holy ones. It's not good, actually, either. I talk about this. This is what series of videos are all about. This is endless reincarnation. It's not normal. It's not natural. You're supposed to move on. You're supposed to ascend. So, and it's in Density-1, and because they don't have a fifth strand, so... But however, if 8% of you, 8% of the living population on Earth can assemble this 15A strand, this, the blue throat chakra, it would affect, like the 100th monkey effect, it would affect and increase the Earth's grid vibration, the rest of the world, the rest of the population. It would affect them, our consciousness. Excuse me. excuse me, it's like affecting the vibrational speed of the particle pulsation within D2 Earth core. You know, the bioenergetic, I said, bioenergetic fields, chakras of the human collective. That's, we're meant to serve to raise this particle pulsation speed of Earth's grid. Understand our part. What we do, I told you about dropping codes, which raises, you know, the pulsation rhythm of Earth's core high enough. We are affecting the planet, man. Excuse me, it's just emotional. We are this mighty, this powerful. Okay, you have other teachings trying to teach you how horrible you are, aren't you? Aren't you following this, some of you? So humans assist the planet in its particle evolution, the planet's ascension, like I said before, which affects our ascension. If the consciousness, DNA, and chakras of humans are not high enough particle pulsation rhythm, you know, which you call ascension process, or in the case of Earth's transmutative activations, it would not take place. Okay? You guys slacked, you don't care about spiritual worlds, spiritual development, enlightenment. Okay, you know, the planet will just remain in Density-1, and so will you. Oh, this Density-1 time cycle, oh, great. And well, at least until the next alignment. Understand that the cycles come. These grand cycles, though. You want to wait to 26,556 years? We're talking about, there's two ascension cycles I show you in a very accurately when. So this is how ascension works. When the planet and humans, you know, increase in particle speed, your body and consciousness transmute to the next level higher, you know. So if something like comes along and or anything blocks that or from happening, then you don't transmute, do you? You don't ascend, holy ones. And so we want the particles to start vibrating faster. So we want at least 8% of Earth's population to assemble, you know, their fifth strand energies. So are you one of these ones, holy ones? That's what some of you are here for, starseeds, indigo children, is to awaken yourself, bring back your, activate those DNA, those chakras, because you have a huge potential of DNA to activate compared to ordinary human. Understand? So we have a huge responsibility. You know, the Earth's population must get that first strand energies, you know, so it would generate and trigger, it would, you know, be sent up from the Earth core through the portal bridge of the Ark of the Covenant. You know, our consciousness would activate this, like a blue-white spark would penetrate the fifth dimensional seal on the Ark of the Covenant portal, you know, and enter the D5 blue flame, which I told you that's how you ascend, you know, within the Sphere of Amenti. So it is like strange. You probably never heard this before, but this is how it's all working out. It's actually not hard to understand. A child can understand because it's all about energies and colors and these levels, you know. So the D5 blue flame would then send back a corresponding spark of D5 frequency, you know, back into the Earth's core, which would trigger. This is how it's working. It would trigger the opening of the Earth's morphogenetic field, you know, give it the program, tell it to, you know, accept the Sphere of Amenti, you know, because we're raising the Earth's grid speed high enough to hold the D5 blue flame morphogenetic field of Tara. That's what it is. That's what the blue flame is. That's what we need for the ascension. It's like to start her ascension, get it going, like you're trying to recharge a dead battery, trying to give someone a jump, or a human brought back to life, you know, with those little hospital, you know, you're trying to jumpstart the planet. Come on, we need that energy in there. We need that blue spark, you know, because our, you know, difficult circumstances, we have a difficult ascension process, you know. So the fact of the matter is, you are personally responsible, holy ones, for developing and activating your fourth green heart chakra, your fifth blue throat chakra, if you want to ascend through the blue flame of Amenti and into Tara. That is the human process. That is how we ascend, holy ones. And that's the end of today's video, you guys. And this is right, it's a part 2. And so please continue on to the next video. This is very informative, and it's a great honor to be part of this. And you are part of this. This is why you were brought to this information. Have you noticed? I love you, Holy Ones. Love yourself and love others. Please continue on to the next video. Please like this video. Your likes add up. They're a huge blessing. We're collaborating, you and I, us. We are part of this energy. I love you. Namaste, Holy Ones. Take care of yourself and take care of others. Let's take care of this planet. Peace. Namaste. Shoot.